Katie Welge here for GALvanize, the Who Not Do series. Today I am joined by sports radio host of the Mark Willard Show on KNBR, Mark Willard. So excited to jump right into this interview, so let's get into it. I know you've had an awesome career in sports radio, but I also know that you are a teacher and you teach. So tell me a little bit about that. What do you teach and what are some things that you've learned just through doing it?
Yeah, gosh, no, it's been a really fun journey that I didn't necessarily set out to have, and it's been tremendous. It started when a friend of mine approached me. Gosh, I'm just going to throw maybe 5, 6 years ago at least. Approached me and said, we started talking about how we felt as professionals in the industry and students currently, I guess you could say at all times, the college experience often left kind of two things out, which was A, networking, and B, coming out with actual tangible materials that you could share and send to people. Sometimes some universities have different programs and Syracuse comes to mind. Sure, you can come out of there with actual materials, but I went to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and so when you're in kind of a small area for that, you don't have the opportunity to come out with great materials, and you certainly don't have the opportunity to network a lot like we all want to do in the large markets, because we were 3 hours away from any large market. So we set out to set up these weekend workshops that were really aimed at those two things. We bring in speakers from the industry so that students were able to meet directly with those in the industry, and then also work with them all weekend long on all kinds of aspects of the industry. Get a camera crew there and have audio booths set up and things like that, and so people could walk out of there with actual materials. So we did that like 2 or 3 times, and it was amazing. And then our bandwidth kind of changed in terms of just the ability and the time to be able to do it. But in that process, I marketed to, this was down in LA at the time, and I marketed to local universities for reaching out for students. And I had marketed to Cal Poly because it was my alma mater, even though it was a little far away. So then after we had done a few, they got in touch with me and said, hey, we'd like to know what your process is, because we want to do a sportscasting class. And just to kind of get to the end of the story, like that turned into, would you consult with us? Turned into, would you write the course? Turned into, would you teach the course? And so I've ended up being a professor at my alma mater, teaching the first ever dedicated sportscasting class. And then when we moved up to the Bay Area last year, I also got a job doing similar stuff, communications, teaching and whatnot at Academy of Art University here in San Francisco. And so that's been an amazing experience. And what it's really helped me learn, I like to think that the students are getting something from being taught by someone who's currently in the industry, as opposed to they used to be, because we're just more up on things and the industry contacts we have. So I like to feel like I'm providing the students something that way, and then they provide me, the ability to really stay current and really understand the ins and outs of the industry right now, and also just what the next generation of broadcasters is thinking and feeling.
Absolutely. And I think that's
Yeah.
also just great advice. So thank you for doing that, because that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I have to ask this because this is just so cool to me. And I'm sure you get asked this all the time. This is about your wife. And I hear your wife is a medium.
Yes.
I think that is amazing. Tell me a little bit about that. How is that? Does she like read your mind? Like what kind of is that like, living with someone who's a medium and has that talent?
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of our friends sometimes are like, wow, Jill's amazing. And then they'll look at me and they're like, are you okay with this? Like, is this because how do you navigate a marriage where someone's doing that? And it's amazing to watch. It's I guess it's easier to be in a relationship with someone like that than maybe it sounds. But I'm not gonna lie, there are times when it's intimidating, where you're like, because what human being doesn't have, especially if you're having a tense or difficult conversation or something, everyone's got thoughts going on in the back of their mind, and they're like, we're not going to say that one out loud. And then in the back of your mind on the other side, you're kind of like, the show to know what I'm about to say that I'm not saying. So it can be funny, but she's amazing. She's amazing.
Oh my gosh, that is so cool. And I'm sure it's just like you said, just really cool to kind of sit back and watch her do her thing, just kind of probably at random sometimes, and just have that gift, which is super rare. But that's very cool.
Yeah, well, I didn't grow up in a house that was kind of open to this, so I had to go through my own process of unlearning what I was kind of taught as a child, that something like that was weird or not possible or anything like that. And I mean, the proof is in everything I've seen her do. So.
For sure. That's amazing. Oh, and I'm sure, like I said, you get many questions about it, but I'm super into that. So I think that's awesome. And one last thing, what is something that you have learned about yourself just throughout your career, personally? What's something that you think that you've, adapted to, or something that you just maybe have come out feeling better about yourself? What's just something that you could feel like you could take away just through your experience in sports?
Yeah, gosh, that's a great question that I actually do. I don't get a lot, but I would say, the entire process, I always refer to coming up in the business. If it's done the right way, I refer to it as finding your voice. Like, that's always my and that sounds simple, but it's a little bit more intricate than maybe it sounds on the surface, where I don't just mean find your courage to speak. I mean going in to find exactly who you are, and then being able to share that with an audience, because all of us early on, whether we mean to or not, we will mimic those who we grew up watching or who we admire. And I remember in broadcast school when I was young being told, don't do that, it's already been done, which to me made sense. But at the same time, I was kind of like, well, that makes it sound like I have to come up with a character. Oh, that character's already been done. Let me come up with, so what other character hasn't been done? And the truth is, you don't have to search for that character. You are that character. And it's just a matter of being authentic, being you. And what I grew up in maybe a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a stubborn household. Somehow I came out of it with a very healthy stubbornness, about all things, good and bad. And what I really loved learning, in coming to my authentic self, is that it is totally okay to be wrong. It is totally okay to be wrong. You allow your vulnerabilities out, and it can be therapeutics many nights to go on the air and share with the world all of the things that scare you or frustrate you, because you learn that everybody is going through all of these same things, and it's actually a beautiful, beautiful way to connect with an audience. So I think the process every day of building a show and then putting yourself out there has really taught me a vulnerability. It's taught me that that our flaws and our fears and all of those things are okay, and to feel comfortable sharing them and connecting with other people on them, because that's how we all heal and get through times like we're experiencing right now.
Absolutely. And I think that's such an amazing answer, because we can all relate to each other, like you just said, in some way or another. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mark, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate this. It was so great to finally meet you and, put a voice to a face and from radio.
Yeah, no, wonderful to meet you as well. I appreciate the time. It was really, really nice.